Hi there, welcome back to my kitchen. If you've been making pumpkin desserts, you know how expensive this stuff can be. Pumpkin puree is used in all sorts of things this time of year, from pies to cakes to muffins, but it's super pricey. Everything is getting super pricey. How about we try to save a few bucks, buy some pie pumpkins from a farm stand and process them so that we can make our own pumpkin puree. And it's very easy, just takes a few minutes, and it'll be as good as anything you can buy in a can, and it'll save you some money. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is a sugar pumpkin or a sugar pie pumpkin. These are the small pumpkins. They're usually labeled as such at the farm markets, farm stands, and in the grocery store. I wouldn't use those large jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. I have used them before, but they're very fibrous. They don't necessarily taste as rich and sweet as these. So this time of year, they're pretty plentiful, and you can usually get a good price if you buy a few of them at the same time. I'm just doing one today, but for your best bang for your buck, you should do several at a time. While you're going through all the work of doing this, it's good to just do a few at a time, but I'll just show you with one for now. So you want to take a good sharp knife and cut into your little pumpkin. And this is going to take some muscle. Find your halfway point on either side. Just be really careful. And then see if you can pry it apart. This might take a few attempts to create two halves. So there you go, two halves of your pumpkin. You can snap that stem off. And now it's just a matter of taking out the seeds and the fibrous innards. And this is very similar to making a jack-o'-lantern. You have to take out all the seeds and the fibrous guck from inside. Just put that on a newspaper, and I use a firm metal spoon to just scrape that away from the interior pumpkin flesh. And if you like, you can clean off those pumpkin seeds and roast them and put a little bit of oil and salt and chili pepper and make a nice snack. Try to get as much of that slimy, fibrous stuff out of there as you can. On to the other half. If your hands get a little bit slippery, it's okay to rinse them off now and then. There, that's better. So just keep scraping away until you have all that stringy, fibrous interior removed from the pumpkin flesh. So there, my little pumpkin is all cleaned out and ready to go in the oven. So the next step is pretty easy. We're just going to rub a little oil over these pumpkin halves just to keep them from drying out. It doesn't matter what kind of oil you use. I'm just using a few drops. And I'm just going to spread that all over the cut side of the pumpkin. And then I'm going to put this cut side down into a baking dish. Then I'm going to do a little bit more on the outer skin. And I should have mentioned, I wash these really well under the tap. So to bake these, put them in a 350-degree oven. You don't have to preheat the oven, just slide them in, turn the oven on. Even easier is doing this in the microwave. So that's how I do mine. I don't cover them, I just pop them in the microwave starting at about 8 minutes. Then I stick a knife in, see if it's tender, and if it's not, then I give it 5 more minutes, and that usually is enough. Okay, let's check these out. Oh yeah, nice and tender. That one's done too. So our pumpkins are completely cooked. It took about 12 minutes for these pumpkin halves. Not long at all when you consider that to bake it in the conventional oven, it would take about 45 minutes, maybe 50, 55 minutes to reach the stage of tenderness. So I'm just poking my knife here and there. Yeah, they're very nice and tender, but they're too hot to handle right now. So I'm going to just allow these to sit and cool. Not cool completely, but cool until I can pick them up with my hand, and then I'll show you how I scoop out the flesh and put them into little storage baggies to freeze for making delicious desserts sometime in the winter. Our pumpkin has been cooling here for about 30 minutes, and it's cool enough to handle. So at this point, I just pick it up and start scooping out that nice soft flesh and put that in a bowl. It should come away very easily. And it's sometimes helpful to have just a cutting board or something that you can scrape the skin against. So one moment, I'm going to grab something. A little cutting board. The skins on these are very tender. So I'm just going to use my spoon to scrape the flesh away from the pumpkin skin. Just keep working away until you've cleaned all of your pumpkin. You just want to take the sharp edge of your spoon and scrape that away from the skin. So if you are someone who does a lot of baking with pumpkin, if you have some pumpkin pies that you're going to make for Thanksgiving, Christmas, just because it's a nice fall day and you want to bake a pie, this is a nice way to get some pumpkin pie filling. Just pumpkin puree. I keep saying pumpkin pie filling. This has nothing in it but pure pumpkin. So much better for you. And chances are it grew not far from your home, so you're supporting some local farmers. There's one nice bowl of pumpkin puree from one small sugar pie pumpkin. I would recommend, if you plan to do a lot of baking, buy yourself 3 or 4 of these little pie pumpkins, bake them all at once, and just set up a little assembly line and bake and scoop out the flesh. So I'll just clear this away, and then I'll show you how we store that for the rest of the winter. So we have our nice bowl of cleaned pumpkin puree, and it's pretty smooth and soft. Some people put this through a food mill, some people run it through a food processor. I don't do that. I have a little masher. This is a meat masher, but it works perfectly for this. So I just take my meat masher and I give this pumpkin puree a little bit of a beat, a mash and a beat, and it's pretty smooth. So that's all I do. And now this pumpkin puree is ready to bake with right away, or you can stash it in the freezer and get it out anytime you want to make a recipe. So what I do, I have some Ziploc freezer bags, and I measure out 1 cup for each bag. Doesn't have to be precise. Pack it in there, and then put that in your freezer bag. Make sure you have that entire 1 cup measure. It looks like this 1 pumpkin is giving me 2 cups and a little bit more of pumpkin puree. So you know what? I'm just going to put this one in a bag, all of it, and call it a heaping cup of pumpkin. And if I'm using that for a pie or a bread, it doesn't really matter. There's not that much left over that it's going to affect the recipe. So into my second Ziploc bag. So you can see why it's a good idea to do more than one pumpkin at a time. If you're going to all this trouble, not that it's a lot of trouble, but it's a process. And if you're putting things away in the freezer for later, it's good to do a few at a time, so you're only messing up your kitchen once. So I'd say that turned into about a cup and a quarter of pumpkin puree. So now to store these, I like to just flatten them out a little bit, zip them up, squeeze out as much air as I can, and make my little packages nice and flat. And then I'll put them in my freezer. And they take up very little room. I think you'll know what they are. If you don't, you can just write on there, 1 cup of pure pumpkin puree. And I should mention that you can do this with squash. If you have some butternut squash that you're going to make a butternut squash soup with, this is a great method for preparing your squash ahead of time. And it's so easy. So I'm gonna head to the deep freeze with these and put them away, and when it comes time for Thanksgiving or Christmas, I have 2 cups of already prepared pumpkin waiting for me, and I don't have to open a can or buy a can. It's so easy. I hope you'll give this a try. And if you're wanting a beautiful pumpkin recipe to try this out with, might I suggest my wonderful pumpkin swirl loaf? I'll put a link right here. That is to die for. Just a wonderful holiday dessert. Thanks for hanging out with me in my kitchen, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.